Were any of you aware of the impact that your substance use disorder was having on the family?
Yeah, I mean, I know my substance use and my, actions were a direct result of my dad drinking, because he didn't know how to cope with, fearing for his son's life. Um, and I know my mother was a wreck. I mean, so many sleepless nights for her. That's one of my biggest regrets is the things I put my family through.
Gabriel, were you aware of the impact that you were having on your family?
In the slightest sense. It wasn't until like getting some time away from the disease that I really saw like how deeply I had been affecting them. Specifically my dad. I think in like a father-son relationship, there's oftentimes some like stoicism, strong masculine energy there. And like when I really saw how like deeply I had affected him, it was eye-opening because it was really a role reversal of like how I'd been affected by him in my development, and then how he had been affected by me in my use was almost identical.
Zach, were you aware of the extent to which your use was affecting your family?
Early on, not as much, but I think in my 20s, I started to realize, like, as I said before, my dad was out of the picture with my mom, and she has a limited amount of time during the day. She's running a business and she has 2 kids in the home. And to the extent that I was just sucking up all the energy, my sister was, just even more neglected. And at one point she's like, I'm moving into the basement. And it's like, okay, she's kind of down there by herself. And then later on, like as I got sober this time, I was hyper aware of how much my mom and sister were just staying up sleepless nights, just worrying about me. And I think some of that is good, but I think some of that was an excuse to drink even more. I feel my family did so much for me, and yet I'm just like thumbing my nose at them. And I feel it's one of the worst feelings, honestly.
And how have you worked with your family in the last few years of your sobriety to improve those relationships?
Yeah, that was one of my number one goals for getting treatment. I mean, I sort of wanted to get better for myself, but initially it was, I want to get better for my family so I can show up. And we did a lot of family therapy and I made amends. And I think it was great for me because what they wanted to see is just me happy. And so if I'm focusing on my happiness and doing what I need to do, I'm not worrying about their happiness. That's really all they've asked of me through this process.
For those of you who have siblings, were they resentful about your drug use?
My sister was super resentful because, like I said, a lot of my mom's energy went towards worrying about me and not my sister, even though my sister had her own needs that weren't being addressed. And I think also from a financial perspective, it was hard for my siblings to be like, mom's paying for these, $1,000 treatments every year or two. How is that fair?
And time takes time.
Time takes time. I think the more that family sees the loved one doing well, the more it's easier to forgive.
My brother, I think he really just had a lot of regret in how he showed up because he was like the first catalyst for me to use substances. Like he introduced me to, the first time I drank was with him. First time I smoked pot was with him. And while, his intentions were pure and he just wanted to be the cooler older brother, that was the start of my substance use. So when it did get bad, I think he just turned to regret and feeling bad for, introducing me. I don't ever blame him for that because I think I would have, done substances with or without him.
My brother and I is still complicated. He lives in Europe. My sister and I are closer than ever. Like I was telling her, she had twins yesterday, and I was the first call for my family and got to see them and meet them and everything. And it was a beautiful moment. In that moment, I was like, I know this would not be possible if I was still using. They would not want me to be a part of their lives, and they would not want to be talking to me.
But yet you were the first phone call when your sister had those babies.
Yeah. It felt really special.
One of my reasons for getting sober was my sister's pregnancy. My sister was pregnant with the family's first grandchild. Mm. And I had a revelation that I could either be the aunt who doesn't show up for things because she's too hungover to get on an airplane to fly home, or I could be the aunt who did everything with this baby, the aunt who was present and supportive and showered all of her love on this baby. And that's what I chose. I knew I had the chance to get sober for this unborn baby. How important is it for parents to have guidance in terms of helping to change the family dynamic?
There's so much gray area in dealing with that, and being able to navigate that with a professional who knows what they're doing was so crucial in my experience, for sure.
Yeah, I think the family of the addict needs as close to as much support as the addict needs. It's the same for the addict as it is for the family. It's going to be mind-boggling for them as much as it is for the person that's using drugs.
One of the things that's made this time so much different, my mom finally got help. She got a therapist for the first time. You know, she's needed one for years based on everything that happened, but it's great because she's not asking me to do anything that she's not doing herself. And that's made such a difference.
What is the most important thing you can tell parents? Like one final thought on the most important thing you want parents to know.
It's just trust the process. That's the most important thing.
For parents to know, especially with like loved ones going to treatment, is like that there is a way out. You know, they aren't alone. Like there are ways to recover. It's not the end of the world.
Love your child through this and continue to stay focused on what you want at the end of the day. And you want your child to be happy and have a life worth living. And there's going to be ups and downs, but you remain focused on the goal. You can get there.